Hey everybody, welcome back to the next part in my dialing in series for our HX Stomp. And yesterday I did a helix dialing in and I was trying to come somewhere in the ballpark of Eddie Van Halen's tone from the first Van Halen record. And again, in the ballpark, I explained that yesterday. I never say that these are being dialed in exactly to sound the same way. There's too many variables involved, as I was talking about in the video yesterday. But I had a lot of questions about whether this preset could be dialed in for the HX Stomp and the Pod Go. Pod Go not so much because of one of the particular things I did with panning the reverbs and using a split block. But I was thinking about it, and at first glance this preset looked like it had too many blocks for the HX Stomp. But we could try to kind of amalgamate some stuff and get it to fit. I get this a lot where I make a preset that seemingly doesn't fit on the HX Stomp from the Helix, and people ask me, what would you change? How would you mold it to get it to fit? So let's go over to HX Edit. We'll take a look at this and I'll show you how sometimes it's just not popular. If you have a huge Helix preset, it's just not going to work to condense it down into something that's going to fit. You might just leave out components that are extremely important to the sound. But with this one, I think we just might. So let's go over to HX Edit and take a look. Just a word about the video yesterday. I was using my JTV 59 and I was using the Variax Lester setting. Today I'm using my JTV 89 and I'm just using the mag pickup. So this might actually sound a little different than how I dialed this in yesterday. But it's going to sound different for everybody depending on the guitar that they use. So here's my preset from yesterday, the Van Halen 1'esque on the Helix floor. And here is my HX Stomp HX Edit. I have my HX Stomp here actually being powered, I don't know if you can see this, by the Mission Engineering 529HC and a battery actually. So my friends over in Mission are making some really cool products. And I'm gonna have a video about that coming up really soon about a new product they have. But it powers, I have my battery pack over there and I've tested this and I've got like 10 hours of battery power just powering the Stomp with this, and it works great. So a little side point. So what we see here is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. Obviously too much for the HX Stomp in its present state. Well, let's start and talk about what some of the first things we can do are. Well, we could simply amalgamate the amp and the cab. I'm using a single cab block here, a Brit Plexi Norm with a 412 greenback 25. So over here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pick the same amp, Brit Plexi Norm. All right. It comes up with the 412 greenback 25. We'll see if the settings are the same. I have 12 kilohertz here on the high cut. Everything else looks identical there. And on the amp side of things, let's just mimic the settings. Everything here cranked to 10 all the way from bass up to master volume. Drive was on 7. Sag was on 6. Bias on 10, Bias X on 9. All right, so I've already amalgamated those two blocks. Now, one thing you can do that's really neat here is you can just copy and paste other blocks over. So we have our low and high shelf EQ with these settings, plus 6 dB on all the frequencies above 500 hertz, plus 10.8 dB on all the frequencies above 1 kilohertz. I'm going to right-click that, copy. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste that in the same relative position. So we're all good there. Now, if we look at the block count, like I said, what I'm planning on leaving out is I had a nice little LA Studio comp doing a little bit of subtle compression. That's not going to be used anymore. I'm going to get rid of that because of the block limitations. Now, the delay I am going to put on, I'm going to copy that, paste it right here. We get the exact same settings. I'm also going to assign that to foot switch number 1 so we can turn it on and off as needed. I'm going to copy the reverb right here, paste that, and then I'm going to pull it down just like I had over here with my split and merge block. So I have this, I'm going to put that on a split AB block, even split. My merge block is going to be very important here. I'm going to go A pan fully to the left. I'm going to take the B level down 8 dB. And I'm going to pan that right 25. I explained this yesterday on the early Van Halen records, and a lot of the Van Halen records. Eddie's kind of direct or almost purely direct signal is usually panned very hard out one way, oftentimes left. And a lot of the reverb is just slightly kind of more, less direct sound and more of the reverb sound panned over to the right. And that's the case here too. So that's how we accomplish that. Okay, well, what does that leave us? It still leaves us with the script mod phase, which is simple enough. I can copy that. I'm going to paste that over here for when we need it. And I'm going to assign that to foot switch number 2. And you could change these assignments to whatever feels comfortable for you in using this. Now, if you notice, I have 2 flangers, and a lot of folks really said, man, this was a really cool idea. You know, in something like Ain't Talking About Love, on that famous kind of, you know, CBC riff, the flanger kicks in, but then it's out for the rest of the riff. So I got this neat idea that I would put 2 flangers, one with a momentary switch, one with a latching switch. So if we wanted, you know, the flanger on all the time, we could simply just press it and it's on with the latching. If we wanted to just kick it on and then kick it off, the momentary switch is going to allow us to have the flanger on while we hold the foot switch down and off when we lift off. So obviously we're not going to be able to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're already at 5 blocks. We have one more block we can use here. And unfortunately, so I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just copy. By the way, these 2 flangers were identical settings as far as how they sounded. It was just that momentary or latching function. So I will just copy this one and paste it over here. I will assign it to foot switch 3. Again, you can change it up and you can decide whether you want to set it to momentary or latching. I'll leave it at latching for now. Okay, so we seem to have basically created the same preset. Let's do this. Let's expand HX Stomp's HX Edit window out. So let's see how this sounds now. Let's turn the EQ off. We'll keep the delay off. We'll keep the reverb off. And here is just the amp with these settings again: drive on 7, bass all the way through, mid treble presence, channel volume, master on 10, sag on 6, bias on 10, bias X on 9, with a 412 greenback 25, with a 57 dynamic. And it sounds like this. Okay, like I was saying, I have this EQ in here which makes some pretty dramatic moves, boosting all the frequencies below 500 Hertz by 6 dB and all the frequencies above 1 kilohertz by 10.8 dB. Let's listen to it with that. Without again. Obviously it's adding a lot of boost. Not great gain staging, but I don't care with this. I'm getting it to boost some level. Big deal. It's fine because that's going to be an always on kind of an effect. So let's come over to the reverb, and this is where this preset gets interesting. Right now we're hearing the dry signal. When I kick this reverb on, you're going to notice the reverb is going to sound mostly in the right speaker, while the direct signal with just a touch of reverb is going to sound mostly in the left. So the way that I accomplish that is by simply panning, like I showed you before, the direct A path here over to the left, pan the B, which is just the reverb, over to the right by about 25 and then lower the volume by 8. You can adjust how much reverb you want here. If you wanted more, you could bump this up. But I had settled on -8, which seemed to work for me. Could go a little bit more. Let's leave it back on 8. All right, so that's an always on effect as well with this. I really want that on all the time. The delay is going to sound like this. Now, a lot of folks, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, know that Eddie had the delay before the amp. I wasn't really digging it in this case. I just kind of preferred it after. You can change it up, do whatever you want with this. It's just a starting point. Like I said, it's in the ballpark. So with the delay on, it's a dotted 8th note, feedback at 25%, mix of 40%. Got to avoid copyright by playing these riffs for real. All right, so that's it with the delay on. We'll turn that off. Now, with the phaser on, phaser and delay works really nice together for leads with this tone. All right, now with the flanger on, we're going to get this type of a sound here. So again, if you want to set that to momentary, just select it, go over to the bypass controller assign tab, switch the latching type to momentary, and then what'll happen is when you click that, it'll stay active while you're holding the pedal down. When you take it off, it'll disengage the pedal. So that's basically the preset, somewhat similar to what I had yesterday for the Helix. And again, I will get away with that without copyright, hopefully. So anyways, that's the preset. You can make adjustments to this on your own. If you want more reverb, like I showed you, you can dial more in using the B level or even just a bigger reverb. You can mess around with your delay settings. If you find it, too bitey, maybe you want it to be a little warmer, you can come in here to the gain, high gain on the low and high shelf, peel that back a bit. Or if you want more bite, you can come in here. I think I had settled around plus 10.8. So there's all sorts of ways of tweaking this. You can play around with your flangers and phasers as well on it. So I will have that up on CustomTone for you guys. Again, I'm really not interested in hearing about whether anybody thinks it sounds exactly like Van Halen. I'm not claiming it does. It's something to get you in the ballpark. As I mentioned yesterday, there's too many variables involved. Eddie's hands and brain being the number one thing, his guitars being the other thing. We really don't have in the Stomp or the Helix the models of the exact equipment he was using. We just don't know that. There's too many variables, right? And regardless, you know, any one of us could plug into Eddie's rig and it would not sound anything like Eddie, as we're all very well aware. So hopefully this gets you guys in the ballpark, and I wanted to do this up for all my HX Stomp friends out there, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you get some happiness out of it in this tough time when we lost such an icon of guitar and probably the, you know, most influential guitar player of all time, or, you know, arguably so at least. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the preset. Please like the video and share it with anybody who you think would like to see it. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new videos out. I will have some more coming up very soon. Thanks so much for your time and support, guys. I will be back soon. Ciao for now.